Ooh, this is not the show I wanted to have today. Not the best news today, huh? Portal's been pretty brutal. Early days in the open portal. But on one hand, I'm super excited about what Mike Elko's building. I still am. I feel like he's planting seeds. I feel like he's building a foundation, meeting with high school coaches, still recruiting. By all reports, he's about to get real active in the transfer portal, making good hires, hires that most approve of at this point. I'm not just talking about Aggies, I'm talking about nationwide approval for the program that is usually the point and laugh program approval. On the other hand, the portal. Probably a little bit worse than we even expected. And I was expecting some names, but not the names we got today. We'll talk about that. But let's talk about Elko's building first. Let's start a little bit positive. I see Tyler Hoduck in here saying, console me, please. Mike Elko is building a solid foundation for this program. He hired Colin Klein out of Kansas State today. By now, you guys have heard the news. You've digested it. You thought about it. It's a good hire. Young, up-and-comer, 34 years old. Pried him out of Kansas State. He's denied offers from Notre Dame and Penn State. That speaks to, well, first of all, the money that A&M can offer, but also what A&M is. I want to talk about that in a second. But he's a guy that brings a multiple offense, maybe a run-first offense, but it's an offense that's been touted as one that can get a lot of different playmakers involved. And when he's going to have the toys that he has at A&M, that could be a really good thing. I'm thinking of players like Moose Muhammad, who we didn't see utilized very much this year, potentially getting utilized more in a system like Colin Klein's. So it's a really exciting hire. He's an up-and-comer. He's another hungry dog. You compare him to Mike Elko. Mike Elko, the guy that obviously just hired him. Elko has 2 years of head coaching experience. He has everything to prove. Colin Klein has 2 years of OC experience at Kansas State. He transformed their offense. They were a plodding, slower running offense before, power running offense before. And they became something more modern, more multiple, using a lot of misdirection. I haven't done a deep dive on their film yet, but from what I hear and what I read, use a lot of misdirection. They're not afraid to spread you out as quickly as they're afraid to show you a power look. They're going to manipulate eyes with motion. And like I keep saying, they're going to get a lot of playmakers involved. Really modern, fun offense. But it kind of speaks to what A&M is. I think it's really cool that he rejected Notre Dame and Penn State. I think the difference that sets A&M apart right now, as particularly an OC destination or even a defensive coordinator destination, a coaching destination, obviously aside from everything it has to offer, which we've talked about time and time again here, I can't think of another program. This is kind of a dig at the same time as it is a compliment, but I can't think of another program that has such mediocre current results in production and even history relative to the potential. I can't think of a program with a larger gap between the two. So this is absolutely a program where you can come and you can make a name for yourself and you can build it and you can stay a long time and reap the benefits of being the first to do it here. I think that's significant. I think it's really cool. So we're really excited to get Colin Klein. Several hires have been made since the last time we talked. I think it all happened the next day. I think it happened Tuesday, Monday. Obviously, we knew about Sean Spencer, D-line coach. Cushing, O-line coach out of Duke. Ishmael Arstad, back. He used to coach at A&M under Elko. Now he's back coaching DBs from Duke. A&M hired a GM, director of player personnel, Derek Miller. I don't know much about these guys individually, but what I do know is the reaction that A&M is getting to the hires they've made so far. A&M, typically the point and laugh school, right? Typically, this is the school that everyone makes fun of. But almost everybody is approving of the hires that A&M has made so far. That's pretty unusual around here. I wanted to contrast the hires that Elko is choosing to make right now, or compare and contrast them to Jimbo's latest staff. Jimbo hired a bunch of guys who are maybe on the decline of their career or come from scandalous backgrounds, a very heavy baggage coaching staff. Talking Durkin, and I'm especially talking Adazio and Petrino, and Jimbo himself. These are all guys that bring a lot of baggage and a lot of maybe unwanted attention to a football program. Guys that maybe bring some drama, some stubbornness, Maybe they're good coaches. Turns out some of them weren't. We don't think. Elko's staff seems to be a low-maintenance, hungry group of coaches. And I think that's what A&M desperately needed. You get enough bad press here as it is. And it's really bad right now with all the ammunition this transfer portal is giving On3 and Hayes Fawcett and the rest of the national landscape and national talking heads. Bunch of the buzzword right now is football guys. And to me, football guys are low-maintenance guys that are willing to set everything else aside and just coach this damn game. And that has me fired up. Elko's doing a lot of things right now. I think a lot of these transfers, which we're about to talk about, are kind of out of his control. I think a lot of them leave with E-Rob. You lose 2 East Coast kids today who are probably very loyal to E-Rob and Fadil Diggs, Chase Basantis. Both names I don't think anybody really expected to see that really hurt. We'll talk about the transfers in a second. Let's say what's up to everybody in the chat today. I'm glad you guys have tuned in. A&M basketball is playing right now. So if you have this on one screen, you should put that game on another screen. I am out of bandwidth here, so I can't watch the game. Maybe y'all can update me. But thank you guys for being here. If you guys could like and subscribe, that would be very nice of you. Let's say what's up to everybody in the chat today. I see Asian Persuasion in here. He's the first caller. We have him waiting. We'll get him in here quickly. He probably has to go soon. You guys know Jeb has some rant to go on tonight. He always does. What's up, David Franz? Good to see you. We got Lash. What's up, Lash? Colin Klein. Hallelujah. I know, right? It's a good hire, man. It's a hire that everyone approves of. Even our biggest critics approve of this hire and think it's a really good move for A&M. I think that's significant. I don't really grade coaches the day they're hired. I either feel bad or feel good about them. I feel good about this one. I don't think I felt great about Durkin or Adazio last year. I feel really good about this one. I feel good about Elko. I did feel good about Jimbo, but a lot of people laughed at that one, particularly Florida State. Gary Mertens, good to see you, man. Really like getting coaches that are hungry. Would like to know if OC/DC will have incentive-based contracts like Elko's. That'd be interesting. I don't know if they really structure those coaches' contracts like that these days. I really don't know. I wonder who the DC is going to be. I don't have any DC names yet. Maybe you guys can offer some DC names. We've heard rumblings of young, available DCs. That's what Billy Lucci said this morning. Young and available. Those are the hints we got. So, who knows? Buff Boulder City's back in the house. We have a Colorado Buffalo fan tuning in for 2 shows in a row. We're looking for dogs after dogs on the field, baby. Well, you might get some Aggies over there, unfortunately for us. Chris Cobb, good to see you, man. Glad you're in here. Sawyer, people want to see our team fall apart so bad that they hacked Bryce's Twitter. Very happy with Colin Klein. Yeah, Bryce Anderson hit the portal today, but not really. We'll talk about that in a second. That was crazy. I happened to be taking a work break while that happened, and I saw the post go up live. Whew, that was a scary 5 minutes. Good to see you, Ben. Hello, Aggie Nation. Gig'em Drew. Any clue for DC, says J2. Good to see you, J2. No clue for DC, and if any of you guys have clues for DC, fill me in. I haven't done that research yet. Tyler says, console me, please. Look, Elko's building something. That's kind of how I started the show with. I think Elko's building the roots for something long-lasting and long-term with these relationships with the Texas high school coaches, something that Jimbo, by reports, neglected a little bit. That's how you, what's the word? Establish your breeding ground for players, if you will. Establish your source. You build those relationships. You get those coaches in your good graces because those are the coaches that know where the talent is and can persuade talented players to look your way. And I think Elko's doing a masterful job of that. He's also making great hires. Oh, God. Do I even want to post this one? I think I'll post it just to see what you guys have to say. Matt Meyer says, Walter Nolan to Texas, please. Yes, Texas is one of the rumored teams that Walter Nolan is looking at, along with LSU and others. Either of those two would just be a shot to the balls. Let's just be real. Chris Cobb says, 16-5, Aggies over to Paul. Let's go. Sawyer says, Ohio State got destroyed by the portal. We'll probably be fine, though. Ohio State got 10 players in the portal on day 1. A&M's up to 10 players now. I believe the number's 10 right now. Texas 10K runner, good to see you. Jimbo met with high school coaches. Yep, Jimbo did. Yes, Jimbo did. But he probably did, but we didn't see it. We didn't hear about it as much as we do now. We heard that he was not involved in the Texas high school scene as much as Elko has been early on. That could just be rose-colored glasses. I don't know. Ben says, let them leave. Let the guys that don't want to be here leave. There's maybe something to that. Maybe I'll transition into that as I'm looking through these comments and we move forward. And we'll have to maybe get to Jeb in about 5 minutes. I know he has to go. But Walter Nolan officially entered the portal today. He announced he was going to enter it a couple days ago, plans on entering it, and he finally entered it today. And apparently, one of the A&M beat reporters texted Walter Nolan's dad asking him if A&M is an option to return to as one of his potential schools he could land at. And Walter Nolan's dad sent back the shrugging emoji. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know if I like that mentality. I don't know if I like taking light of a situation like that. Maybe to them it's not as big a deal as it is to us fans that consume this sport. There may be something to that, getting bad apples out of the program, getting guys that want to be here. I don't know. That seems a bit copy to me, like you're coping a little bit there. But there may be something to it. I never felt like Fadil Diggs was a bad apple. I never felt like Tyreek Chappelle was a bad apple. We don't know. I'd rather keep him. I think I'd still rather keep him. What's up, Terry? Good to see you. Actually, I don't like what you had to say, so I take it back, but I'm glad you're here. Miller Upton in the house. Good to see you, Miller. Gridiron Masters. Good to see you, man. Sheriff 519. It's a mercenary sport, Drew. The staff will get the team where it needs to be. It is a mercenary sport. You can't fall in love with players anymore, it seems. And that really sucks. College football needs some structure, man. Players have too much power. They can leave at any time, right? With no consequences. I mean, what kind of barriers can they put in here? They already went backwards in getting rid of the 1-year sit-out period. If you transfer, you can play right away now. So it is very much a mercenary sport now. Worse than the NFL. Worse than the NFL. NFL actually has contracts. We don't even have that here. Miller Upton says he loves the hire. I love it too. TMJ Boss, what's up, man? Good to see you. Aftermarket Consulting, good to see you, Aftermarket. TexAg said that we have a large number of potential transfers visiting this weekend. That's the word. A&M's already offered 6 guys in the transfer portal right now, including a DB out of Kansas State that looks pretty good, a receiver out of North Texas that looks pretty good, a couple of guys. It's early still, but we've heard that he's going to be very active in the portal. Up top says, Jeb, did I hear you get a call out on another podcast earlier? Yeah, I tuned into TexAgs for about 10 minutes this morning, and Jeb did get a call out on that show. Shout out to Jeb. He's making waves out here. Space Jesus says, thankfully it's someone who is young and trying to prove himself, or someone like Petrino. Exactly my point. Exactly my point, Space Jesus. That's what I was saying at the beginning of the show. Any word on Durkin staying? Very doubtful. Very doubtful. From all reports, Elko is going through DCs right now, and he should be making a hire very quickly. Very quickly. There should be a hire potentially this week. But Durkin is still on staff, probably going to coach the bowl game. It came out that E-Rob will be coaching the bowl game. What a great dude. I mean, he took the job. He bet on himself. He moved up in the world of college football, becoming a defensive coordinator. Someone took a chance on him, and he took the chance. But he's going to stick around. That's pretty rare. And he said he's not going to lure anybody away. I mean, I'm sure people might just want to leave with him just because he is who he is. Another point I wanted to make about this D-line and maybe why we're seeing some names leave, LT Overton, Fadil Diggs, Walter Nolan. Don't forget, we also tragically lost Terry Price this year. So all those relationships built between Price, E-Rob, Jimbo, those are all gone now. So it makes a lot of sense for a lot of defensive players and D linemen in particular to look elsewhere. There have been some very low-key rumors of Shamar Stewart potentially being a guy that could enter his name in there. Unfortunately, it wouldn't surprise me. Nothing concrete on that yet. That's just a rumor at this point. But you lose 2 personalities like that. You lose your head coach, who's also an ace recruiter in Jimbo. It can make a difference. And I think that's what's happening here. Kit Kat, good to see you, man. As long as Seawig stays, we're going to be fine. Yeah, so far I think only 2 mainstays on the offense have entered the portal, and those are Jake Johnson and Chase Basantis. Evan Stewart's still around. The receiving core is still around. I'm knocking on wood. I'm knocking on wood right now. with Colin Klein and all these guys that are sticking around, these receivers, these running backs, this offense could be amazing next year if they can keep it together. And hiring the OC now rather than waiting a little bit longer is really good. Really maybe get some of these players excited. I mean, there's nationwide excitement about A&M and Colin Klein right now. So I think these players feel the same way. And yes, you keep Wig, you feel good. And it sounds like he's sticking around. People are mad that we are taking their coaches, which is a good sign. I agree. J2, Rangers King, good to see you, Rangers King. Today is a dang good day, man. Okay, so you're saying the day is a net positive, even though you lost players in the portal, but you get a really good hire. All right. Let's get into the call with Jeb. Jeb, you're on with Drew, man. How you feeling tonight?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you feeling today, man?
Oh, I think I'm a net. I don't know. I was thinking before Chappelle, I was a net positive on the day based on the hire and based on what Elko's doing. But after Chappelle, that was a pretty painful one in a position of need. So I guess I'm neutral.
I've kind of turned my emotions off, man, because I know if I overthink, I'm just gonna go nuts.
And it's kind of sad that we have to do that, right? Because you feel like in college football, you can get attached to players, but that's not the case anymore.
Oh, absolutely. And now, I mean, we have a lot of East Coast guys on this roster, so I figured a lot of them were probably going to leave once, E-Rob left.
Well, yeah, and E-Rob's a special guy with special connections to these players. Even though Elko's an East Coast guy, he's not E-Rob, and he's the one that had the relationship.
Right. Yeah, I was surprised that Chappelle, left because he was there when they had Elko, so I thought maybe he'd stick around for his last year, but...
Right.
Fidel Diggs definitely hurts a little bit. He was a guy who was really coming on the scene, but I don't know. I mean, obviously you don't want to lose all these players, highly recruited guys, but I mean, it's just part of the process, when you bring a new coach, you're going to have guys leave, turn over roster, but I mean, I'm excited too about all the guys coming in. I'm sure we're going to have some big names.
I'm sure we are. I mean, we've been hearing that he's gearing up to make a splash in the portal, so I'm hoping there's some good holes that get filled by some of these guys.
Oh, the Klein hire, man's amazing, dude. I mean, look what he's done this year against,
Oh, yeah.
I watched him against Texas this year. Texas, they have elite corners and DBs. They have NFL safeties, and they have 5-star corners. Dude, they carved them up second half.
Yeah, man. Kansas State was 13th out of the 14 Big 12 teams in terms of, power rating based on recruiting
Kansas
status.
State
very, not very talented by that metric.
There was a year, I think in 2014, where Kansas State was really good, and they had nothing but walk-ons. They had the most walk-ons played, so they're known for that. And I know we offered their corner. He's really good.
Yep.
I really like him a lot.
Yeah, that's a desperate need right there. You got some young guys that are exciting, but I think we're down to under 5 guys in that room right now.
Oh yeah. And I mean, at this point now, I'm just kind of ready to get the bowl game over with.
I know. Who's even playing, right? It's a skeleton crew of coaches too.
Basically, I mean, it reminds me a lot of the 21 season with LSU when they fired Ed O. Did you ever that Kansas State bowl game where they had 30 scholarship players?
Yes. Yeah.
I hope it's not like that, but it's kind of headed towards that way.
Dude, I know. We're just getting into it right now. E-Rob just left. I think he was a big puzzle piece. I think everyone's seeing the landscape kind of form now that the portal's open for everyone. I think there are going to be some more brutal names.
There will. Guys like, LT Overton, a guy obviously highly recruited out of high school, was kind of, he was more of a run stopper. I don't think he's much of a huge loss in my personal opinion.
Yeah. The thing with him, I mean, they obviously saw something in him, and he was highly rated coming out of high school. Obviously,
he came out early too. He was a high school
17-year-old. Yeah. But he played a lot, right?
He
never really took a leap. He never really made a splash, right? He never really.
Yeah, he was more of a. They wanted him to be an edge rusher, but he just really wasn't. He was solid when he played, but he wasn't like a world beater.
Right.
I can see guys I can see maybe Rakes leaving because he's an East Coast guy. So man, I mean, I know we offered that Arkansas linebacker that I really like,
Chris Paul. Yeah.
I hope he we can lean towards him.
Yes, with Coop almost.
How do you feel
gone.
about? We've been offering quite a bit of receivers in the portal. Do you think that indicates anything? it scares me a little bit because I'm like, why are we offering receivers? We have a pretty good group.
Yeah, Anais is gone, and that's about it from the rotation guys, right? So
Yeah, you
far,
still got Micah Tees,
Cottrell's gone.
Moose, Walker, Cottrell's gone. Jordan Anthony, I don't know if he's going to be on the roster next year.
I thought
Apparently,
he entered the portal, didn't he?
no. Apparently, he had he got offered for a pro contract in track. Did
Oh,
you hear about
interesting.
that?
No, I didn't hear about that.
So that happened like several weeks ago. So I'll be surprised if he doesn't. So receiver definitely is very thin. We do have, I think, 3 receivers committed right now.
Sounds about right. Yeah, I mean, they could be bracing for the worst there. I don't know if it's just a room you need more bodies in or what.
I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, you can never have too much of any position, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I need to see that corner room get shored up. That's where I'm really nervous right now because we
Yeah.
talked about this last show when someone went out, whether it was Harmon or Tyreek Chappelle late in the year, whoever had to go in just wasn't up to speed. Whether it was DeBerry, whether it was a freshman, and those freshmen are going to grow up, but are they going to make the leap and be ready to play a full season of SEC football next year?
Sheesh.
And then who's behind them?
We better hope Grimes comes back and is healthy.
You got to get at least one starter caliber player in the portal at corner, and I think they will. I think with the amount of players that are in the portal now, you're going to find something out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the pros and cons. Yeah, we have a lot of guys leaving, but we can also add a lot of guys from other schools, from other Power 5 schools.
100%. Yeah, man, it was a brutal day. It was a brutal day. A bunch of names you didn't expect went out today. How you feeling about the good thing that happened today, though, with Colin Klein? Did we talk about that yet?
Optimism Klein. Do you remember that name back 2012?
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah.
I loved watching him during the Johnny years. I thought he was so fun to watch as a quarterback at K-State.
Really good quarterback, really good player, and a good coach. I mean, he's already a good coach. So today was just a weird day.
Like you said it earlier, the fact that he declined Notre Dame and Penn State, those are 2 very prestigious programs, tradition-wise. He turned them down and came to A&M, and that just shows you right then and there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm hoping these next 2 days are gentle, but I think
maybe this is what we need. I mean, maybe we need new players. Maybe we need a new coaching staff that can elevate us. I mean, I'm not willing to obviously. Yeah, he just got here, but I'm not willing to panic just yet. I mean, some of these players were expected to leave.
I figured players were going to leave, and the names as they come up now, maybe I didn't think I would feel the way I feel about them.
When they broke the news that Erod said, we're going to be losing a lot of defensive players.
Yes. And the offense, it hasn't been too bad yet. It hasn't been bad for the offense at all.
No, offensively, it's been good. But Santos, I mean, he committed to Adazio. Like, he loved Adazio, so that made sense that Adazio leaves. He's probably going to leave. And, hey, that just means if Ruben Father's on the roster next season, you give him a shot.
Yeah, I hope he gets it together, man. Well, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out, man. I mean,
I'm excited. I mean, I'm ready. Like I said, I'm ready to get the bowl season done with, and then I'm ready. I almost bought tickets for that game. Thank God I didn't.
You're not going to go? Okay.
It's on Wednesday. Like, come on. I have to take off work, but I'm more excited about after the bowl game. That's when the recruiting process really starts with high school and the portal. I'm excited to see who we bring in, who the new offers go out to. Stuff like that to me is always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And yeah, I'm in no ways jumping off the Elko ship. I'm not even thinking about that or considering that.
We're going to see a lot of new faces, and I'm excited for it, man. I mean, we've been saying this all year. I mean, is it better to have – coaching matters. We saw it this year at A&M. A&M, we were winning games purely on talent alone. It's time – I mean, we just didn't have elite coaching, and now I think with Elko, you're going to get better. We're going to be a gritty team. We're going to have better coaches, better coach team, maybe less talent. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a new regime. It's a new era. It's time for them to build it their way. And I mean, that's a positive way of looking at it. But I think I think you have a good point there. I think it's refreshing and it's exciting. But obviously, I don't want to see these names leave. But
yeah, I'm still bummed about Walter Nolan, Chappelle, and Diggs for sure. And Jake Johnson. Jake Johnson's been solid.
He has been solid.
But we all knew he was going to follow Max.
Of course.
I had him leaving before the season started. I said we'll get a year. We'll get a year of Jake, and he'll probably be gone once Max leaves because Max is not going to be on the roster.
Yeah.
Somebody already knew, but
yeah,
I'm excited. I mean, if the offense can stay put, I think we're going to be a pretty dangerous team next season offensively.
I think so too, man. I'm feeling really excited about this offense. I'm sure Colin Klein is also really excited to see what he can do with the toys he has now. I mean, you talk
Oh yeah,
about from a bottom feeder in terms of like Power 5 talent teams in Kansas State to
absolutely.
a team with so far and as it stands right now, a bunch of weapons, a bunch of receivers, good quarterback, and young up and coming running back. So that's something to be excited about.
Oh yeah, Josh Pate tweeted out. I think that South Alabama receiver is supposed to be really good. He's visiting this weekend, so
Nice,
maybe we
nice.
maybe we can close the deal on him.
We offered that North Texas receiver who had 1,000 yards this year.
Oh yeah, Jeremy Macklin's
Yep,
cousin.
yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited, man. So excited. We're gonna bring in a lot of new players. We're gonna see a lot of new faces. Maybe this is what we need as a program. Maybe we need that. We've been seeing the same team the last several years.
Yeah.
Maybe we need these new faces.
Yep. I'm choosing not to panic yet. Now, this is the last question I'll ask you before we get out of here.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do you feel about next season? I mean, you think there's going to be like an adjustment now? Next season was always the year we had circled. Schedule is manageable. How are you feeling about next year now? Just right away.
I said this year was supposed to be our year in terms of
Okay.
like, players growing up.
Right.
I think the problem with Jimbo was he just didn't add enough people from the portal. We needed to add a lot more pieces from the portal, and we didn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next season, it's hard to say because originally I said, I mean, obviously with Elko, as much as we love him, we believe in him, you can't have too high expectations right off the bat. But with the 12-team playoff, I mean, damn, if you can make it to the 12 teams, shoot, you know what I mean? Like, it makes it a lot easier now to get in.
Well, let's say this thing keeps going. We're at 10 players in the portal right now, and let's just throw a number out there. Let's say it gets
I said half. I said you're going to lose half your roster.
Okay. So it jumps up there, and then you fill out maybe half of that half with serviceable portal players.
You're going to have to. I mean, look at Ole Miss. Didn't they bring in like 30 players?
Yeah. I think they were second in the portal behind Colorado.
You're going to have to because you're going to have to probably add more high school kids to your commitment list, and you're going to have to add – I would just add them portal guys. If you can add 30 –
Yeah, but given that, if they accomplish that and that's how it goes down, you lose, let's say, half of this roster, which in my opinion, that's extreme. I don't think you lose half, but you could. You definitely could. It's possible. It happened to LSU.
But maybe not half, but maybe I'm thinking 30.
Yeah. If that happens and you fill out the way we think we will in the transfer portal, are there 9 wins on this schedule next year still?
Absolutely. Look at our home schedule.
Okay.
It's perfect. The one team I'm actually excited, not excited, but like that intrigues me is the Bowling Green game. I know that sounds weird.
Do tell. I'm curious now. Why the Bowling Green game on a schedule that has a full SEC slate? Why Bowling Green?
Dude, Bowling Green is like the App State. They're not
okay.
for a non-Power 5 team. They're not bad.
Okay.
They've had rich traditions. Maybe not rich, but they've had pretty solid teams the last several years. That game intrigued me. That obviously doesn't excite me, but it definitely intrigued me a little bit. But yeah, the home field advantage for all our hard games are there.
It looks good.
If you can keep most of your roster, your offensive studs, we already know if Elko, we're going to have a good defense. Less talented or not, we're going to be a gritty defense. We're going to be well coached on defense.
I'd like to believe that. I think it's going to be. I mean, you can't lose everybody on that defense.
Right, absolutely.
I'd like to believe that.
I mean, who else can I think of? I mean, I think York stays because Coach Elko also recruited him out of Duke.
All right, just for the sake of talking, I'm going to throw out a couple of names that I'm nervous about. I already mentioned.
Okay, let me hear it.
I mentioned Shamar Stewart. I think most of the 22s are kind of in the danger zone. I think Jacoby Matthews could be maybe iffy.
Yeah.
I think maybe. I mean, I don't want to say Bryce Anderson. Did you see what happened with Bryce Anderson today?
So him and Bryce Foster apparently got their accounts hacked.
Okay, so yeah, Bryce Anderson. So he straight up tweeted, "I'm entering the transfer portal," and then he posted on his Instagram story like 20 minutes later, "My ex got hacked. I'm not in the portal." That scared the crap out of me.
Oh yeah, that's the guy I don't want to lose. I'm like because we need all your DBs. Now you lost Chappelle.
Can't lose anymore.
Gotta keep Matthews because you lost Gilbert already. He was probably gonna be your starting free safety.
Yeah,
he's gone. You need Bryce. You don't have another corner, so you definitely gotta have him. I mean, yeah, you gotta keep everybody on. You gotta keep as many as possible on defense.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point,
guys, I like that Florida edge a lot.
Yeah.
I can't say his name, but he's really good. The Duke edge is really good. So
Yep.
I'm excited. But guys, yeah, I mean Matthews.
And I think Scylla and White are going to take steps forward this year and maybe fill in for Diggs. I think the problem with them two was always just size and muscle.
They're
And
undersized.
yep, yep.
White, I could see White transferring though.
Yeah, all the
Unfortunately,
22s I think are at risk. I just think that class is kind of,
that's what everyone was wanting. Everyone was wanting all those 22 guys to leave, and
yeah,
it's slowly becoming a reality, unfortunately. But I mean that was Jimbo's class. I mean, some of
yep.
those guys are going to be gone now. Not all of them are going to leave, but
Yeah, of course.
hopefully we don't lose. I really like Stewart, player wise and personality wise. I love his interviews.
Yeah, I like him too. You know, people call him a diva, and you know he's pretty vocal. He's very social media.
Diva, yeah, goofy. He's a goofy guy.
He's a goofy guy. I like him. Yeah, I like him.
I thought he was good too. I thought he played very well in the 21 season or 22 season, and then he was a good role player last year. I'm thinking maybe because we have the Florida D-line coach, maybe he stays. Maybe he recruited him out of high school.
Possibly.
I'm hoping because if you can have Shamar Turner, Shamar Stewart, keep Dalen Evans, who is a top 100 player in the recruiting class this year, as a strong side edge. You're good on. You're gonna have to bring in edge rushers though. You lose Fidel Diggs, you have Malik Silla, possibly an I White. You're definitely gonna have to bring in a couple more edges and Rylan Kennedy.
Yep. You know who I'm really excited about? I'm gonna let you go after this. I'm really excited to see GBD and DJ Hicks step up now. Hopefully they stick around.
No, that's weird. Speaking of Dindy. Have you thought it was weird that he didn't play at all this year?
He was always like in mop up duty. He was the one that came off the bench.
Yeah, it was mop up duty. And then
maybe
because
he missed a whole year.
Yeah. Every time he came in, it was always Hicks.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's just not healthy, or if I was actually going to talk to you about that. I don't know if he's just not healthy, or
Hicks?
Dindy.
No, yeah, I think it's similar to what was going on with Fothery. I think he had a whole year where he wasn't in the weight room and wasn't practicing and just wasn't out of football shape. And I just think they didn't have the confidence or the need to play him with how deep that room was. And now that it's thinning out a little bit, I think
he'll have a shot to start, if anything, if Nolan's gone.
Hell yeah.
Really likes him. Hope he stays. I know his parents. I think they work for A&M. So
I've heard. Yeah.
I'm hoping he stays around, but yeah, I was really wanting to see him as a breakout player. But hopefully, if he sticks around, he'll have a very good shot at being the starter.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about the interior or the strong side defensive end at all. We do need an edge rusher out of the portal, and the portal is flush with them right now. So hopefully, you can get a name.
Because if Cooper's gone, it's a huge drop off. We don't have anybody in terms of experience wise behind him.
Yeah.
I like our 3 linebacker commits. I like them a lot. But I think portal-wise, we have to bring in at least 2 or 3, in my opinion. I'm trying to stack that position.
Yeah, you have to. Well, all right, Jeb. I'm glad I got you in before you had to go, man. Any closing thoughts before I let you go?
Hopefully we hear some more good news. I want to see who they hire for DC. I mean, I think we're all waiting for that, and the O-line coach.
No, we got the O-line coach. It's Adam Cushing. Adam Cushing out of Duke. Very big. Apparently, from what I hear, very much like a technical guy, focused on technique and drilling technique. I mean, that's what you should be in an O-line coach. That's what you should have. So hopefully that means something. We get some better development.
Because we have the talent on the offensive line, they just need to be well coached.
Yeah. Jury's out on
I'm expecting big changes for the offensive line next season. I'm hoping. I think we're all hoping that.
Open competition across the board, maybe.
Absolutely. I mean, I think as of right now, you have your 5 with Zune, Nabeau, Dewberry, Foster, and then hopefully Fothery can redeem himself.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to bring in guys from the portal for sure, especially interior-wise. You're going to have to bring in guys.
You need a backup left tackle. I don't know what happens if you lose Zune, whether it's injury or portal. And I think Zune's safe. I think he's carving out a pretty good career.
Yeah, he's an A&M legacy too, just like Bryce Foster. Both their parents all went to A&M.
Okay.
So I don't see those guys leaving out. And Bryce already did an interview with Tex Aggies. He pretty much said he's excited for next season, so he'll be back.
Hell yeah. Well, awesome, man. Jeb, you have a great night, man. Thanks for calling, and we'll talk next week.
Guys.
Yeah, I'm choosing not to get too high or too low yet. At the end of the day, this is a snapshot in time. We don't know what players we're going to get in. We don't know what all players we're going to lose. We're already at 10 in the portal. You can only assume it's going to at least double. I think we're going to get to 20. And I think whatever addition we have to the portal, about half of those guys are probably going to be guys you don't want to see go. But the portal giveth, the portal taketh away. Let's catch up with the chat, and then we'll get into Theo and then Max. I'm excited to hear what these guys have to say. Well, Max, speak of the devil. Have you gotten a look at some of the film on Klein? Also, I looked at some of the stats, and honestly, Santucci is a perfectly good DC option. Duke was really good on defense. So I've looked at some film on Klein. It really excites me. The way he's multiple in his packages, the way he kind of uses leverage to his advantage, moving safeties around, gaining a numbers advantage on the field. That's kind of what I've picked up on so far, and just the way he spreads the ball around. Really cool to see. And I think we had some underutilized, talented players on offense that I think he's gonna have some fun with. That's what I'm really excited about. Like Moose Muhammad is the one that always comes to mind on that front. It's like we couldn't use him this year, but you know what kind of talent he is. Klein's in a ball with this guy. Truffle Shuffle, good to see you, Truffle Shuffle. Are we freaking out about those entering the portal? Sorry, late to the show. Freaking out. Is that what I would say? Freaking out. I wouldn't say I'm freaking out. I would say I'm pretty disappointed to see some of the names that have entered. I mean, Fadil Diggs and Chappelle have been here for years. Basantis started the whole year as a freshman, albeit out of position. I wouldn't say freaking out. I would say bummed out more than freaking out, because I do think you can build it pretty quickly and fill in gaps with the portal pretty nicely. But if what happened at LSU happens here, where you had like 35 scholarship players by the end of the year, then I'll be freaking out. Then it'll be safe to use those words. Belioso, good to see you, my man. How you doing, Belioso? Tyler Eubanks, good to see you, Tyler. OC hires W. OLC hire an L. We'll see. We'll see. You think the O-line coach is a loss? I don't know. I don't know if it can get any worse. I'm okay with the O-line coach based on what I'm hearing and based on the reactions to it. Rangers King says massive... This is Max, by the way. Rangers King is Max, and he calls himself Max in StreamYard, so if I say Max, I mean Rangers King. Massive credit to Elijah for sticking around for the bowl game, and also to Fran Brown for letting him stay through. Absolutely. It's very uncommon. I say build him a small statue. Tyler says on the opposite end of things, massive L by Elko not to give him the DC role. We'll lose a lot of defensive line players for it. You know, at this point, I'm going to trust the process. We shall see how it plays out. We'll see how it plays out. You might be right. But it's not like we were good. I don't know. You might be right. It might have been worth the risk. The run stopping and the front seven were good, though. And the D-line still has plenty of talent right now. You just can't lose anymore, but we'll see. I'm drinking too much of the Kool-Aid to be down for the transfer. Absolutely. Bobby, what's up, Bobby? Good to see you. Is Evan Stewart in the portal or not? I feel like there's a lot of confusion. He is not in the portal. There have been rumors that he's eyeing it, but the latest thing we've heard from him is that he has kind of doubled down on his stance that if he would have entered the portal, he already would have. If he was going to, he already would have. As of right now, we have to take that for what it's worth. Not in the portal, and this offense in large part seems locked in based on interviews from Connor Wigman and Bryce Foster recently. You've lost players in the portal for now, and they could always not leave. I kind of feel like they're going to leave, but you can always build it back up. Gridiron Master says, I don't know why people are surprised. A&M chose to shake it up by showing Jimbo out the door. Yeah, overall, I'm not surprised to see a bunch of good players into the portal. But as I see the names pop up, like, I don't know about you guys. When I refresh X right now, I'm holding my breath. It's like, who's the next name I'm going to see? And as I see each name that I'm, like, high on, like, I was really high on Basantis. Hopefully we can move him back to guard in the future, get him in his natural position. He could grow. He's ahead of schedule as a true freshman. Not going to happen now, probably. So as they come, it feels bad. But overall, seeing it happen, 10 players in the portal now, not surprised. You fire Jimbo, you lose E-Rob. This is what happens. This is part of the transition. It sucks, but it's part of it. Anti-Ag in the house. Good to see you, Anti-Ag. They could have kept a lot of players by keeping E-Rob. Right. They definitely could have. And they tried, but not as DC. We'll find out if that was a mistake or not over time. Gustavo, a known hater in these parts. Gustavo Gutierrez, always known for throwing some shade towards A&M. You got to love a good hater in the chat. Stewart is going in the portal. Just give it time. If you say so, you're probably well informed. So I'm gonna. Nah. Truffle Shuffle. Am I the only person disappointed in playing Oklahoma State? I hate playing old Big 12 opponents. Yeah, that obviously is a bummer. You want to see some new blood. You would have loved like a Wisconsin or a Clemson or something like that. I'm not disappointed because we won 7 games this year, and I'm not here to be picky. This just in. The 12th man has entered the portal. Ha. Need to load up on the O-line. Yep, Space Jesus, we do. Rakes is a senior. I don't see Rakes leaving. I actually don't think Rakes leaves. I think he's been around for a long time. I think he plays plenty here. I think he's going to have a lot of opportunity next year. Losing Nolan, I think he sticks around. That's just a prediction. I don't know for sure. Noah is overrated. Only one good game. Talk about Noah Thomas. He had a rough year with injuries and off-the-field stuff with his brother passing away. We'll see. Sawyer, who's the kicker next year? Good question. Get one out of the portal. Randy Bond lost some trust this year, and that's no joke. Welcome to Portal Combat. We need to recreate the song. Portal Combat. Wrecking Crew says, I thought this was common knowledge, but Stewart was ousted Monday of LSU last week. So yeah, he's gone. How do you know he's gone? We don't know. It's not common knowledge that he's gone. He's not in the portal. How is it common knowledge that he's gone if he's not gone yet? Do you know something? Type in the chat if you know something. I know what happened. He got benched for Jade early in the week versus in the LSU week, but we don't know much more than that. We don't know if he's just taking, kind of falling behind with the injuries he's had this year. We don't know if he was actually hurt. We don't know a lot. There's a lot we don't know. And if he sticks around with the new coaching staff, he's going to have opportunity. So he's also considering that. And he's also made it clear that he chose A&M because he wanted to be here. At least that's what he said. So we have to go off of that for now. I don't know that it's common knowledge. It's definitely not common in my brain. SB Hustler. Good to see you, SB Hustler. Not even mad about Walter Nolan. Dude is hurt every other game. Soft like Sharman in a lot of ways. Heard he needed to be paid or he's gone. And Elko said, see you later. I am not going to comment on that because I don't want to talk bad about players. But, yeah. If that's true, good for Elko. Yep. You need the talent to beat Bama and UGA, though. Yes. Yes. And you don't play either of them in the regular season next year. You play Texas and LSU, and those are your most talented opponents next year. You don't need to hit that threshold in 2024, and that's why that's always been such an exciting year. You don't have to out-talent those two guys in your regular season. And, of course, you're going to have to play guys like that if you make it to the playoff, but that makes for a very positive season, not having to play against those two. But you're right. If it comes down to that, if you make it to the SEC championship somehow, yeah, you do. A&M will aim for that. I don't know why they wouldn't. I mean, it's going to be the driving force. They might not hit it, but they're going to sure as hell aim for it. I'm going to catch up on the chat, then we're going to Theo. Got a few I want to say what's up to everybody before we get up to the next caller. I just hope we can field a team for the bowl. I don't think it's going to be that bad. I don't think it's going to be that bad. I think it's going to be rough, but I don't think it's going to be that bad. Anthony says, tear it down and build it clean. That's kind of what's happening a little bit. DJ Uyangalele with Klein here. Why? We have Connor Wigman. I mean, yeah, sure. If we didn't have Connor, I think it'd be a great target, but based on potential and based on the new OC, sure. Truffle Shuffle says still 10 wins. I love it. A lot of dudes in the portal were overlooked and hungry to win. Need guys like that. Yep. Just like you have two hungry coaches in Elko and Klein, hungry players are nice too. Not complacent players that are, I don't know. Everybody like this video. I love this content, man. Yeah, if you guys could we have 96 viewers and 19 likes. If we could get those likes up a little bit, that would help a show like this out a lot. I appreciate you guys, and thanks, Matt, for saying that. Chris Cobb, 11-2. So, SEC champs? Is that what you're saying? We're losing in the SEC championship. I don't know. I don't know if that number makes sense, but I'll take it, Chris Cobb. Absolutely. We need to win away games next year. Yeah. Win away games and keep your quarterbacks healthy. Some caller a couple shows ago said that those are the two goals for next year. Win an away game and don't get down to your third-string quarterback. I'd rather have the freshman quarterback from K-State over DJU. Avery Johnson, yeah, Colin Klein did some work with the true. Was he a true freshman? I think he was. True freshman quarterback at Kansas State this year. That's exciting. I doubt Diggs leaves. Doesn't make sense. That one was kind of surprising. It was surprising to see Diggs get in there. That was the one that one and Chappelle both kind of shocked me. Diggs has always been such a low-key, soft-spoken guy. I mean, maybe he just wants to go back home. What if he goes to Syracuse? That'd be insane. But like I said at the beginning of the show, with these defensive line guys, you lose E-Rob, but you also lost T. Price very sadly and unfortunately this year, and you lost Jimbo. Those are the strong relationships that these defensive linemen had built in their time here. So it makes sense to lose some of those guys based on that. All right, we're getting close to the bottom. Ronnie Barker from Tokyo, good to see you, man. Lunch in Tokyo. Thanks for hanging out with us. Colin says he's going to Elijah's going to Syracuse. Not like he's going to get big P5 offers at DC. He's not ready for that yet. Yeah, right. That's the thinking behind it. You want to get a more ready now DC, maybe with DC experience, so you can hit the ground running on that front. So it was either get a good DC and you work on your development and scheme, play calling, or you prioritize keeping E-Rob, and then that's a whole project, getting E-Rob up to speed, but you maybe keep more players. It's a trade-off there. And they chose one route, and they tried to do both. They tried to keep E-Rob and get a DC. They attempted to get the best of both worlds. E-Rob was going to become the highest paid assistant coach in the country, non-coordinator, if he stayed. They tried. They tried their best. I can't argue with it until we see the results. All right. Timber says, "Who's the new DC?" Sorry if it's already been asked. It hasn't been a new DC yet. It's not announced yet. It's supposed to be happening any day now. So how and when will they turn that corner to be postseason material? It's a good question. Haven't done it yet. I think NIL will continue to help A&M and Elko super smart. Exactly. He's building something. Good to see you, Ilse Escobar. All right. Mark Moran, hi Drew, how are you? I'm good, Mark. I'm good. All things considered, I'm good. A&M's killing DePaul. Gig 'em. All right, we got Theo waiting. Theo, you're on with Drew. How you doing tonight, Theo?
Oh, I'm good. I'm off my little rocker now.
Okay.
You've kind of walked me off the edge a little bit. The whole.
That's good.
That's good. I just gotta keep reminding myself that college football is turning more and more into a professional game and not what we thought it was when we grew up on it. So you can't fall in love with the players like I thought you could,
Exactly.
The pictures of, Walton Nolan on a knee watching people celebrate after the LSU game and how much it meant to him, kind of felt like he was going to stay with us after that and kind of push us over the hump.
I know, man.
Have him go in, etc. It kind of sent me over the top a little bit there for a minute. Along with Chappelle and needing corners, we're already short at corners. We only have 4 on the roster at the moment. And so it's like a weak spot is already getting weaker, and then losing a whole starting defensive line basically kind of killed me too, between, McKinley Jackson's going to the league, and then you got Walter Nolan, the other defensive tackle, going in the portal, and then you got Fidel going to the portal, and so on. So it's just like, how many more hits could we take?
Yeah. I think we're set to absorb the D-line hits. You got to get an edge rusher out of the portal. I think there are some guys there that can step up, but it sucks to lose your mainstays. Absolutely.
I'm actually really not worried about the edge rushers as much as a lot of people is. And I overreacted earlier on the D-line. Now that I went back and looked at it, there's still quite a bit of defensive linemen that we did not get to see this year. We didn't get to see a lot of guys like Malik Silla. We didn't get to see a lot of Rylan Kennedy. Even, you guys mentioned Eni White earlier while I was waiting. Eni White playing that edge rush, stand-up rush position could really bring an added element to the defense that we didn't do last year.
Oh, yeah. Those guys have me excited. I think we've seen flashes of Silla and White, but they lack the physicality to be down-to-down guys. But now that they're going into their third years in the college weight room, those guys definitely have a chance to make a name for themselves.
And not even that, but we know that um, Elko does packages. Like,
Right.
remember when we had Clemens, Liao, Matabuke, and there was like another defensive end. Maybe it was Tyree Johnson or something like that. And we kind of rolled up into like a NASCAR package where we put three defensive ends out
I
there,
loved that.
slide Liao into the three technique, and roll like that at times. So I can see a package like that with, say, Samu or Rakes or um, Dominique McKinley, the 5-star defensive tackle
Yep.
out of Louisiana. Put them at the one technique, and then put in like Malik Silla at the 3, and then Smart Stewart at the 4 at the end position and stuff. Um, and then maybe like in White or someone at the other rush defensive end spot. I can see that aspect of it.
Man, you're right. That
Um,
that what you called it, the NASCAR package. That's awesome. When you had Tyree, and then I always blank on his name. Number 2, the defensive end. He's on the Jets.
Michael Clemens.
Michael Clemens and Liao. Those three, with Liao being the interior guy, and then whatever other rusher you want in there. That was so
Mm-hmm.
deadly, and that was like our third and long package every single time, and it was so successful. And we didn't see as much of that kind of stuff from Durkin, so it's a good point.
Right. Um, which brings me to the defensive coordinator thought process. Is I'm really trying to rack my brain on who is a Power Five guy that is in the top 25 um, that you could see us poaching, and I really can't find one.
Right.
Um, but I did find Troy's defensive coordinator. He's relatively young. They've been in the top 10, 15 for the last 3 or 4 years in terms of overall defense. It'd be interesting to see if he would go the group of five route that way, but that doesn't fit the mold of the rest of the hires.
Right.
So it's kind of confusing on that one.
Yeah, I think the hints we got were what you said, and it was also a name that was maybe a little splashier. Is that kind of what they were getting at? Maybe a name that was more established for a young guy? I don't know. It's still a
Yeah,
mystery.
and I can't think of who that could be.
Yeah, it's a big. I don't know either. I don't know. You know what? He's had a good early track record of hires. At this point, I'm pretty confident in the DC hire. Now, someone, I think Tyler in the chat, was feeling kind of bummed out or kind of pointing out that it may have been a mistake not to take a chance on Erob at DC just because you lose so many players. What do you think about that?
When I'm going through my battered Aggie syndrome, I agree. But then when I stop to think about it, you know, it would have took a good several years for him to get used to calling plays.
Yeah,
Um, and calling plays is more about a feeling in the moment and
exactly.
knowing what to do in that moment based off of the feeling of what you've seen being done. Um, and so, like, it would be hard to say go ahead and give it to Erob. Um, Me personally, I may have, but I would have done it with the caveat of okay, um, we keep Durkin as like the co-defensive coordinator another year, and at the linebacker position another year, and you have Durkin call like 90% of the game each game this year,
Yeah,
and then the other 10% of that time, or however you want to slide that slider percentage, you let Erob slowly take on more and more responsibility of game planning, and not only game planning, but um, scheming up how he would want to call the defense and then call the defense.
yeah, and
Um,
that sounds like a lot of variables going on, which might be leaning to the reasons why they kind of had to let him walk after he wouldn't take the D line role. I mean, you if you kept him as DC, it would have been hard to keep Durkin to work alongside him because that maybe becomes more of a dead end position for Durkin at that point because he would know that A&M has plans for Erob at that point, so that would have been tough to keep him.
mm-hmm.
And then if you keep Erob, like you said, it's more of a snap reaction, gut feeling of the game situation. And you would have had to get Erob up to speed there, spend a lot of time getting him coached up and learned up for that position for play calling. I mean, are you sacrificing development there? Are you sacrificing scheming there? Because that's more time consuming to bring someone up to speed. So I think he's looking to get someone who's a little bit more seasoned. And like I said, I think they tried to keep E-Rob too. They tried to do it all. They tried to get him, make him become the highest paid position coach in the country, and get the best of both worlds. But E-Rob just bet on himself. So you lose the players with him, and that's just what it comes down to.
Unfortunately, yep, and that's where we're at. I'm not a big fan of the portal. Um,
I know, right?
I see it as like NFL free agency. The guys that are
Confusing.
going to the guys that are going to the portal are guys who think they either are worth way too much than what they are, um, or they are not quite what they think they are, and the teams that wanted them or don't want them aren't trying their best to keep them. Now I know it's slightly different because in college football, the players have the power. They
Yep.
can go pretty much no matter what. Um, which, like I said, I gotta keep reminding myself, okay, modern modern college football is basically the NFL, but the players have the power. Um, I really look forward to seeing how many guys we can recruit, like Ruben Owens. I don't know if you saw his tweet a couple days ago
Yeah.
about I play for the name on the front of the chest so that you guys can remember the name on the back.
That's
Um,
echoing Elko's mentality, what he was saying when he took his to the podium for the first time, and I love to hear that from Ruben.
you know, I'm really interested to see what Bryce does this year. Bryce Foster.
Yeah.
Um, does he decide to go ahead and buy in a little bit harder and be at spring practice, knowing that it's going to be a new offense, and not only a new offense, but he's actually healthy, and can be in the weight room and um, struggled this past season.
Right.
Does he kind of take a step back and go, I can come back to shot putting next year. Let
Yes.
me focus on this year. Um, as long as we keep the offense for one the most
Uh-oh, I'm losing you, Theo.
because I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good
Are you
now.
there?
Start that over. You're good now.
The one position I'm really worried about the most is cornerback and tackle, offensive tackle. Um, offensive tackle, we just do not have the depth
Correct.
that we would need to go through the season. I love who we have. I mean, Zoom's one of the best left tackles in the SEC, even though he doesn't get the credit. Um, he's so far underneath the radar right now that it's kind of sad because people want to pick on him so much, but he really is one of the better left tackles in the SEC. I would say he's top five, if not top three. Um,
Yeah, he's
to
really
me,
good, but when the O line is bad, everyone gets looked at in that same light. So, or when the O line has a
yeah,
down year, that's the thing about that position. I mean, you can have a good individual game, but if someone gives up a couple sacks, it'll be looked at as an O line failure. So, yeah, that's a great point.
yeah.
And then behind him, I don't know who's behind Zune even now. If he would have gotten hurt this year, would they have thrown Crown over in there? I mean, I don't even know.
I have a feeling they probably would throw Crowd over Fathery.
Yeah,
Although Aggie was still on the roster, so who knows? Maybe we saw Aki or
yeah,
Aki slide out there to left tackle like he did versus Bama last year.
right, right.
Um,
And then corner's pretty rough. I mean, you have some promising young guys, but they didn't. They showed this year that they're not going to be ready maybe for a couple years in Bravion and Javen. Those guys need some time to cook. Now I like their frames. I like what they bring to the table, but they showed they weren't ready for that upper echelon receiver attack.
yeah, and I think that's where Ish and the other guy comes into play. I can't think of his name right now. I think it's BGA. Is his name? His initials.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The
The new
um,
coaches, yeah,
they really come in and um, they really helped develop the corners that we had beforehand. especially Ish. I really hate that Ish left us when he did because he had really developed a really good line of um, corners to take over
Yeah.
from Jalen to Miles to Chappelle to Harmon. Like all those guys were recruited and or developed by Ish before he left.
Right.
Um, and then there's some other guys like I think his last name was like Morris or something like that. In the LSU game, I was watching the a recap of the LSU A&M 74-72 game on YouTube at lunch today.
It's like Devin Morris or something, or I don't. Or
Yeah, there was like a Devin Morris or something like that at corner that like we didn't really hear anything about him,
yeah.
and I was like, wait, where did this guy come from? And then I was like, oh yeah, he was on that team too, and you really didn't hear about him giving up plays. So it's like
Yeah.
we really did take a hit in developing that corner.
Yep. Yep. Well, I mean, they're gonna have to get some corners for sure in the portal and some depth at tackle. Last question before I let you go. What else are you looking at in the portal? Where else do you think there's a need? You seem to not be as worried about the edge. Is there maybe another position you're looking at in the portal?
Um, really, I really think that we need some experience at running back.
Hey, the Kansas
Um,
State guy is in the portal. Trey Ward, I think his name is. That could be an interesting
mhm.
option. I mean, he were obviously was coached by Klein. I mean, that could be someone. I was high on him before he even had Klein, so that's a name that could jump in. But
Him, Waters out of Duke,
Rocket
and
Sanders,
and and Rocket Sanders. I was just gonna bring up Rocket Sanders,
yeah,
someone who's been in the SEC who can help Ruben Owens see the holes a little bit better, help um, the Moss see the holes a little bit better, because this was the first year they really got a lot of snaps, so they're having a hard time seeing the holes.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, let's see, tackle
Yeah,
would be the other one.
it's tackle and corner. You seem to stack them up there. I think you can find if even if
Um,
you don't get the high profile edge, you can make do with the D line
if we,
personnel if you can keep enough of them.
I honestly would like to try to go find a on the roof free safety. And when I say an on the roof free safety, someone that we can trust in cover one to be the deep guy to cover us. We don't really have that guy who can cover from sideline to sideline if needed in a cover one look or a cover zero look. Um, Jacoby Matthews, he's just a tad slow for it.
I really like Jared Kerr, man. That's my
I
that's
were
that's my personal prediction is he's going to become a star. That's just my that's
I
my
love
that's my
Jared
feeling.
Kerr's. I love Kerr's straight line speed,
Hey,
but I
Theo,
worry.
they're asking you if you can shut your TV off in the background in the chat
Yeah.
or just turn it down. Thanks, man.
Um, I worry about Jared Kerr shiftiness and agility, being able to shift in movement.
Yeah.
Because he has straight line speed. He ran like a 4.4, like a low 4.4, high 4.3.
Yep.
He was a track star at a lower level, so he's really fast. Um, an experienced linebacker.
Chris
Um,
Paul.
Chris Ball, and I don't really need someone like someone Power Five experienced, but someone who's seen the game for a lot of years.
Yeah, and you know who fits that mold? It's a guy on the roster right now whose year got derailed with injury, and that's J.D. Davis. Out
Is he
of
back?
he
Is
should
he
be
able to get
back.
his medical red shirt?
I believe so. I think he only played in 2 games this year, so he should be able to come back. I was
Well,
looking at
that
that
would be
article by Carter Curls, and he was one of the guys who did get the red shirt this year.
that'd be amazing to keep him on the roster and able to help with that because um, I really love where we are in the depth of the linebacker room, especially even if we lose Jernigan to Bama. He seems to be a really close Bama lean.
Yep.
Um, Keeping the other two would be just amazing. Um,
Yep.
But even at that, we still had Stanford, we had Johnson, we had, um, gosh, there was like two or three other linebackers besides. Oh, and the kid out of up there by Dallas. I can't think of his name right now. Oh, um,
Well, we got options. Theo,
anyways,
I'm gonna let you go, man. I got other people
yeah.
waiting, and I got the chat, but I appreciate you coming on tonight, and we'll talk again next week. I should be on Monday again. I'll probably do a second show. Call back in, and we'll talk about whatever updates. Hopefully, we get players in by then, rather than just players out, and we can actually talk about some
Uh,
guys and maybe see some offers because we only have 6 offers in the portal right now. Maybe we can
well,
actually
I
see where
have
they're
some news
looking.
about one of them.
What's that?
Supposedly either on or 24/7 has the South Alabama wide receiver already locked into us.
Okay, that's the guy that Josh Payton was
So
high on. Very nice.
yeah, so they supposedly dropped that just before I left Twitter earlier
Well,
this
that's
evening.
exciting. That's good. Well, all right, Theo. Thanks for calling in, man. You have a good night.
You too.
Later. All right, I see us. There's some Texas fans in the chat. We're going back and forth. Welcome in, UT fans. I like to have you here. There's nothing like a good rivalry in the chat of a live show on YouTube. I just want to say my stance. Where did it go? Someone said something, and I wanted to address it. Oh, Matt says, hope y'all enjoy Texas in the CFP this year. Better hope Bama saves y'all. Texas is seriously overrated. Just back and forth. Look, I hate Texas just as much as anybody else, but I want to say this. I am much more concerned with A&M building a program than whatever the hell Texas is doing. Look, Texas has a chance to win it all this year. It is what it is. It might happen. I don't think it'll happen, but there's a damn good chance it does happen. They have a good team. Whatever. We hope they lose. But for me, I am much more concerned with everything going on in A&M. If they win it all, good for them. We're not in a position where we're in that realm in the postseason activities yet. I'm way more enthralled by that line of thinking. I don't care. If Texas wins it, Texas wins it. It does suck for recruiting. It sucks for all that. I want to see A&M build a program, and I want to see A&M in that discussion before I even shift my focus to Texas. That's where I am. I don't care. Screw them. All right, let's catch up on the chat, and then we're getting into Max. I know Max was high on Colin Klein, and I know he's excited to talk about him. Okay, everything is just the A&M Texas talk, so I don't really want to address that anymore. Tyler says, I've never had as I address it right now, I've never had a problem with TU alumni. The most obnoxious ones are the ones just described. The TU fans that annoy me are the ones when I'm on Twitter and I say anything about A&M. Oh, I'm excited about Elko. Let's say I tweet, I'm excited about Elko. And then you get the 40 follower, no profile picture troll who comments on it. Who wants to go to College Station? Just some stupid shit. Those are the ones I don't like. But that's any fan base. They just happen to be front and center because we're rivals. And those are the t-shirt fans I think y'all are talking about. I actually have friends that are Texas fans. I don't like them, but I consider them friends. DNL PRLS is kind of on this point that the players that left never really wanted to be at A&M. Unfortunately, man, and I hate to dig into this point, but I think in today's day and age, not nearly as many players are as loyal to the name of the front of the jersey as they used to be, just given that you can leave so easily. I think they all keep an open mind where if they're not happy in a given situation or they're not getting the playing time they want, they can just leave. So I think a lot of players enter with that mentality. I also don't think that that's every player. I think some players really do care about the jersey on the front. I mean, we saw Ruben Owens talking about it. We've seen Evan Stewart talk about it. I just don't think that's as prevalent these days because I think they have to enter with that mentality. Most people in this chat, we're A&M fans, right? Like, we're not affiliated with any team. but we are fans of Texas A&M, and maybe we went to school there and we're affiliated with them in that regard. These kids that are growing up, they're growing up with options. They're growing up with a bunch of different coaches in their ears. And you got to get a little lucky to get the good ones. But they have other coaches in their ears too, and they have other schools pulling at them and getting their attention. So they're looking around. It's not like not many of them grow up wanting to be an Aggie. So your hope is you get them early in the recruiting cycle. You get them to fall in love with not only your coaches, you get them to have interest in your school and what the school has to offer. But I think that line of thinking is going away, unfortunately. All right. Max, you're on with Drew. Man, how you feeling about the Colin Klein hire? This is one that you'd been talking about for a while, and I know you're probably happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, how could I not be? I mean, it was Monday last week, right? I was like, Colin Klein would be really awesome. I was looking at his stats, and then, snap your fingers. It's Wednesday. Colin Klein's coming in. You know?
Exactly. And you had just talked about him I think the show before, and then last show you were saying, I think sometime this week you're going to get a rumor. And I think that night we had the rumor, and it all just kind of happened the way you laid it out.
It was Tuesday night, and I talked Monday night.
Okay, so that's what it was. So it was shortly thereafter.
It's from that Cahill reporter. He actually went to Kansas State. I was like, oh, well, that's convenient.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. I don't know if you saw it, but I did email you like a bunch of Colin Klein film and stats for you to hang on to.
Oh, awesome.
For your future reference at any time. Also, I was going to tell you, if you know who Stats Award is on Twitter, he makes a bunch of like college football stats stuff. Whenever he updates all the data for the bowl games, you can get a look at what the final ranking is for K-State's offense coming into their bowl game, which I'm sure Colin Klein won't be coaching, so you can get their final season. But I will tell you the Iowa State game shouldn't have changed their data too much anyway. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to not be excited about Colin Klein whenever you look at the way they run their offense. It's not – I know it looks like, so much quarterback run. Oh, they love to mash. Oh, we're worried about Connor Wegman. Listen. That was the personnel they had.
Absolutely.
K-State. They built the roster that way because they brought in a head coach who was running it the same way that way in Fargo. And then they expanded upon that, and they added the passing game, and they added the creativity instead of just focusing on different ways you can mash the ball up the middle in the I formation, which is what was happening a lot in Fargo. And they still do that now, but now you get the full range because you have that more talent and you have a more creative play caller with Colin Klein. The one thing I noticed looking at some of that content that I was sending you was their blocking schemes are really creative, and they really need a good offensive line coach to teach that technique. So I'm hoping that the guy they brought in from Duke is going to be the right man for that job, because currently I think you would have reason to be concerned about their ability to pull off some of those techniques, because they haven't even been that successful with the way Jimbo's been doing things.
Right.
So, but if they can pull those things off, they're going to get their playmakers in space. They're going to find ways to run the ball off the middle. You're not going to have to worry about Connor Wegman being forced to be a running quarterback, because that's not what a modern offensive coordinator does. He doesn't just say, oh, we had a mobile, tough, physical quarterback at this one job, therefore we must have it here. No, we're here to build with what we have and then find the talent that fits. And then later on, if we prefer that kind of guy, then we can go get him later on. But you're not about to turn down a talent like Connor Wegman just because, he's not a run-up-the-middle bruising quarterback. I mean, that's nonsense.
100%. And that was one of the things I said in the search for the OC initially, was you had to find someone that was adaptable and someone that could kind of mold to whatever team they had coming into the program. And then you can't always plan your exact personnel every year. You can target guys. But like you said, the modern offenses, they're adaptable to their personnel, and they get their best playmakers involved.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, think about it. Last year, I guess now it's 2 years ago, but in his first season, he had Deuce Vaughn. They put up insane rushing numbers, but their offense was only in the 20s in like the total SP plus numbers. His second year, he loses Deuce Vaughn, and their offense goes up to 7th or 8th.
That's
That
crazy.
is like absurd.
Yep.
That is absolutely crazy.
And they had quarterback injuries this year.
Yeah, and on top of that, no, they don't have a single receiver above like I think it's like 700. I don't think they have a single receiver above 700 receiving yards.
They share the wealth. Yeah, I've heard he gets a lot of different players involved.
And that's what you want, right? When you have all this talent. I mean, sure, if you find a go-to guy, great, but like you got all this talent, you got hungry mouths to feed at a place like Texas A&M. You got egos. If some guys aren't getting the ball, we're talking about transfer portal. If they're not getting the ball, they're gonna look to find somewhere where they get the dang ball.
Yep.
So and also on top of that, I feel like you're bringing in the right kind of guys that are looking to innovate and they're looking to be flexible, and also aren't going to be the kind of guys like, oh, you're not allowed to wear sleeves, Moose Muhammad, because
that's crazy.
Let the guys have some style, y'all. I mean, come on. This is not 1945.
That was, yeah, and that's the example I always use with Jimbo. It's like you have this player who can obviously do a lot on the field, and you're not using him because he's in your doghouse or whatever reason, and you're leading on a lot of multiple tight end sets when your starting tight end is out for the year. Your backups are serviceable, but you have a guy like Moose, a really good receiver room overall, and you're not leaning on him. It was very rigid and wanted to run things his way rather than adapting to his personnel, which is exactly what we're talking about here.
And speaking of personnel, the other thing I saw was that they really do a good job of not only the technique, but also they really get the offensive line to give the absolute most. I saw them like using a bunch of different concepts where they were having to get offensive linemen all the way upfield to make deep blocks on some of those like screen pass plays. And that made me real excited because sometimes you get in these programs where you get that complacency and then it gets harder to run some of that stuff because they don't feel rewarded. They don't feel incentivized to do that. And then that's how that sets in. And then you get the failure on those type of plays that are supposed to go for big yardage. And then you're like, why the heck did we run this play to get to a 3-yard loss?
Yeah, man, I'm really excited to dive into his film and I mean, see exactly what he brings to the table. It's a welcome change. He's young. He's obviously getting better. I mean, like you said, to lose Deuce Vaughn, to lose your starting quarterback, and to still improve upon your numbers is insane. And he's only going to get better and get smarter as time goes on. He's 34 years old. So, I mean, what's a home run high or whatever it is, I think this was it. I think this is as good as it gets.
This was like you only like I said, I never thought you were going to be able to get Stein. So of the people I thought you could get, there was 2 options. One of them went to Penn State. You got the other guy, and honestly, he's the better guy. This was the guy I highlighted all along. I was like, this is the guy you need. Works with a defensive head coach, has the right identity, has the right values, fits every single thing that Mike Elko said at his press conference. You could not have asked for a better hire.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think? I mean, obviously we're all Aggies here, so we want to toot our own horn. Why do you think he chose A&M and not Notre Dame and not Penn State?
Notre Dame has quarterback instability. Like every year they have to bring in a new transfer quarterback because they never
That's true.
Quarterbacks. And Penn State has the issue of I feel like they're like a cancer to good offensive coordinators. I mean, Mike Yurcich was supposed to be a good offensive coordinator, comes in there, gets chewed up and spat out. And obviously the quarterback problems have not been too great. I mean, Drew Aller is overrated, whatever, but Penn State has I'm going to call it James Franklinism problems. There seems to be institutional problems with the way that program is won, where there's complacency issues, where they're totally fine going, 10-2 every year, always losing to Michigan and Ohio State and never actually getting over the hump until the fans get tired of it and then they fire a coordinator. But they'll never fire James Franklin. It feels like at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like with A&M, it's only room for growth. It sounds like Elko is the kind of guy that's really going to let an offensive coordinator do his thing. I think the interview was probably great, and obviously I think A&M can just offer a lot of money with the $11 million pool. A&M also hired Derek Miller for GM, that position you were talking about last show, director of player personnel, so making moves there too. So, I mean, the hires are really good. The portal stuff sucks. What's your take on, balancing building this program, building the foundation with the hires, and then also dealing with the portal stuff that kind of hurts your immediate success?
You gotta let that Miller guy get to work, man. So here's what's up, right? You're at Duke. Your transfer flexibility is completely gone because you have all these academic standards.
Right.
you have no ability to really work the portal unless you're dealing with like a very rare selection of dudes. While you're at A&M, your options are limitless. There's no particular rules as long as they fit the basic rules.
That's right.
You you got to see what that guy can do to get to work. And on top of that, you really need to understand that these guys are in the portal today. And that doesn't mean that we still, like I said last time, they haven't gone anywhere yet. And it's not like they had rumors of they had offers before they ever even entered. I'm sure they might have gotten like tampered with or whatever, but it's not like they had already decided where they were going yet. So just hang in there for a little bit. Wait to see who chooses to leave. And on top of that, wait to see who you pull in. I mean, I know it's stressful to see these guys that you pulled in from this number one class whenever heading out the door, but there's all this talent coming your way in a little bit too if you just hang on there for a little bit. Some of them will be highly rated. Some of them will be guys who are huge producers who were underrated coming out of high school, and some of them will be guys who maybe you're not as familiar with, and then they turn into stars or they turn into key contributors on special teams or off the bench. There's a lot of uncertainty. You just got to wait it out and see you pull in because you have everything you need to convince people to come who forever you lose and to add on as well. And on top of that, to also pull away the bottom of your roster and really make your depth better.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really easy to get really down on a snapshot in time, right? Like I know whenever I open Twitter and I see a name, it's like a shock factor. It's like, oh no, this player that I've fallen in love with, I'm excited to see his trajectory. He might leave. But when you step back and look at it the way you just broke it down, this is just how it works these days. And as quickly as it falls apart, and even if it does fall apart, you can build it back up. Plus, it gives opportunity for other guys who are waiting in the wings because A&M has really talented young players who didn't see the field this year that might be ready to make a name for themselves. So it works both ways. I think he's building the right base for building something of the future for multiple years. It definitely feels good in that regard. You got any closing thoughts tonight, Max?
Yeah, I do. I got one more for you, which is I'll just throw out a defensive coordinator name for you
awesome.
In case they don't take Santucci. There's if they want to run the same base scheme as Elko, which was 4-2-5, the Rutgers coordinator, they run it there, so I was going to pull his name. I think it's a Polish name, so I gotta make sure I pronounce it right here. Joe Harrishimak from Rutgers. They had an SP plus defense there. I think it was 22nd, which is pretty good for Rutgers, and they're in the Big Ten East. I tend to avoid looking at the some of the MAC schools and some of the Big Ten West schools because those are leagues that can sometimes have deflated offenses at times.
Right.
Whereas Big Ten East, I mean, you have to face Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State every year. Plus, Rutgers had to play Maryland with Tagovailoa. So you had to face a bunch of tough offenses in that side of the Big Ten. And yet still, they put up pretty solid numbers despite it all. I know Michigan State was down, but still. Yep. That's not a bad place to start. And you have to understand also the defense, even more than offense. It's harder to produce with worse talent on defense, especially in these elite leagues.
Right.
So you're going to see some worse stats sometimes. But if you consider in totality what these guys can build with, especially at a program like Rutgers, which just struggles to pull guys. If you're pulling together like a really solid defense at a place like Rutgers and a place like A&M, you can turn that into still an elite defense as long as you got the right dogs to pull in the players, which you're already starting out with that with chaos.
Yep.
So,
yep.
I think you have reason for optimism. Don't hang yourself up yet.
I think so too. Well, all right, Max. If you have nothing else, I'm gonna leave you for the night. Maybe you'll call the next coordinator too. Maybe it will be that Rutgers guy. So we'll have to see how it plays out. I think we'll know by the next time we talk.
Maybe we'll see. It's all up in the air right now. You never. I definitely think we'll know by next Wednesday for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, all right, Max. I'm definitely gonna take a look at that stuff you sent me. I appreciate you doing that. You have a good night.
Good luck. Bye.
Later. Awesome, man. All right, that was the last caller waiting, so we're gonna say what's up to the chat and we're gonna get out of here for the night. Truffle Shuffle, thank you so much for the $4.99. That's very generous of you. Sark was a failure until his SEC rehabilitation. Good luck, Horns. I wouldn't want to play a team twice, especially Bama. He had the Saban rehab, right? Much like Lane Kiffin, those guys both went through Saban's school of hard knocks, came out better out the other end. I think Sark's a good coach at this point, and it took a crazy path to get there, but you're absolutely right. It was the rehab. And yeah, he had to go to the SEC to get it, right? Thanks again for the $4.99 Truffle Shuffle. I really appreciate you, man. Sleeves, not the sleeves. Jimbo, you're fired. We like the sleeves. Yeah, that was a wild scenario with Moose. I'm going to keep using Moose as an example of Jimbo not using his personnel right and not feeding the studs, which is what Bobby wanted to do. And I actually want to show you guys a graphic before we get out of here. It's the current depth chart. It's a pretty loose depth chart. It's not maybe correct in the order in which players might play, but it just kind of depicts who's in the portal, who's coming in, who's standing pat. I'm going to show you guys that in a second before we get out of here so we can just look at the landscape. I haven't looked at it closely. I'll look at it with you guys. We need a good strength and conditioning coach. Yep, the strength and conditioning coach that was supposed to come from Duke apparently is not coming. So, yeah, that's still something you got to find. Recruiting is the draft, portal is free agency. That's exactly how it is now. The thing is, I hear the NFL comparisons, but even in the NFL, you have contracts, you have the ways that the franchises have more power and more leverage in situations. I don't think the schools really have any leverage right now besides, well, it's not even leverage. You just got to convince them that this is where they belong. If not, they leave, and I think that sucks. 5 starters in the portal, at least 5 gone to either the NFL or graduation. That's not all we'll lose. Of course. We're going to lose players. It's going to be about how they rebuild it, who steps up. Yeah, you're going to lose a lot of players you didn't want to lose. That was always going to happen. And it always would have sucked. It was always going to suck. In this chat, we support being optimistic about A&M's future. Look, it's hard not to be optimistic about what Elko's building, but it's also hard not to get scared about the transfer portal. So I'd say we just roll with the punches right now and see what the end product is in a couple of months. It's a snapshot in time we're looking at right now. Saban will live forever just out of spite. Yeah, he just won't go away. He's the greatest of all time. Is this the best Saban year of coaching ever? Because going into this year, it was questions around the quarterback position, questions around their skill players. The O-line was supposed to be solid, but they just didn't seem like they had the upper echelon offensive weapons necessary to win the SEC. And they won the SEC and they beat Georgia. And they got better and better as the year went on. That defense is really freaking good. We don't know why David Feely changed his mind. Maybe there's something out there I haven't seen yet, but I don't know why he changed his mind. I was really excited about him, Tyler. He was a guy that a lot of people were high on. And, of course, strength and conditioning obviously has to do with injury prevention, athleticism, all that stuff. But it's also the one guy on the staff that's in the player's ear year-round. So that's kind of a big deal. Lash, welcome back. Jimbo suffered from a chronic cranial rectal inversion. So his head was in his ass? Okay. We'll go with that, Lash. Something was up, and that might have been it. Welcome back, Lash. Good to see you. A fan's job is to be optimistic. There's always next year. Is not delusional. It's the only thing that is true. Absolutely. Take a chance on a Mac hire. Bill Brechin also runs a 4.25 like Elko. How would you guys feel if it was Santucci? I know we're not high on the way he coached the linebackers, but he got glowing reviews from his time at Duke. He's a young guy. Elko believes and trusts in him. I'd give Santucci a chance at DC. I would. It's not my first choice. We had a bad experience with him. We had bad linebacker play under him. A lot of people in here don't want to see a lower level coordinator come in, Max. So I don't know. I'm open to whatever, but I mean, I'm obviously going to prefer a guy with more Power 5 experience. All right, let's check out this image, and I'm going to get out of here. So let me see. You're going to maybe see. Oh, that's fine. All right, can y'all see that? Type in the chat if you can see this list pretty good, because I can't tell because my viewing screen is tiny. But this is a view of the current depth chart. The red names are the ones that are in the portal. The green ones are the ones that are incoming. The blue ones are the ones we're losing to the draft. So I want to look at D-line. So you're obviously you're at risk of losing Nolan, Diggs, and Overton. Has McKinley declared for the draft? I don't know. But outside of those guys, let's build a starting lineup. Shamar Turner, if he returns, which I think he's going to return at strong side. Isaiah Rakes or Hicks are going to fight for that starting spot. Albert Regis had some good moments, and then GBD. I'm really excited to see Hicks and GBD make a name for themselves now. That's something that I'm really excited to see. Hopefully they stick around. I'm excited to see Tamuanu Pepe as a situational guy. Like who was saying it? Theo was saying Elko was really good at creating these packages for situations. For instance, the third down package with Clemens and Tyree Johnson and Leal inside, just like a pure rusher look. Maybe he'll do a pure run-stopping look with Tamuanu Pepe as he matures. You have Rylan Kennedy, Jalen Scarlett, who are still here. And then I like the potential of Scylla. Well, I already mentioned White, but Scylla and Eni White as your edge rushers. I think those guys are poised to take a step up with Fadil Diggs potentially leaving. Because like I've been saying, those guys' main issue has been physicality. And now 3 years in, I think they're going to have the strength and the size to do it. Corner is obviously the scary spot. So DeBerry's going to be gone. Jordan's gone. He's not a corner. Who else is... Where is... I'm looking for Chappelle. Is there something cut off? Oh, over here. Chappelle's not red yet, but Chappelle should be red. And then Deuce is going to come back. Bravion, Tony Grimes. Bobby Taylor, who we've heard was on scout team all year. Sam McCall will be back, and Javen Thomas. So you have a few names. You have more than the 4 names that I forget who mentioned it earlier. And then with losing Chappelle, I think that maybe increases your chance of landing Bussey and keeping him on board. Maybe early playing time potential for Terry Bussey. He's really freaking talented. I mean, that's not a bad option. You know, you never really want to start a true freshman at corner, but if you had to start a Terry Bussey, it's not the worst thing in the world, given everything. Javen Thomas was a guy that they were very high on going into the year. He even got early playing time this year. It turned out he needed more time to cook, but physically, I love Javen Thomas. Who knows how much more time he needs to be ready, but I think he has a ton of potential. Same goes for Bravion Rogers. He was highly touted coming out of high school. He played in the LSU game. He got burned, but that was literally his first experience at that level. Deuce, I thought, was really good this year. I thought Deuce Harmon changed the secondary. He made the secondary a lot better down the stretch. Of course, he got beat versus LSU. I don't know if he has that upper echelon defensive capability. So that'd be an interesting one to see if he makes it back next year. I mean, Deuce and Bussey, that could be your starters next year. Bussey and Tony Grimes. I think there are options on the team right now, but you definitely want to get a high profile or 2 corners out of the portal. I think that's a must. And then I think an edge rusher would be good. I'm really excited to see Hicks and Brownlow Dindy really come into the forefront next year. And Shamar Turner coming back, he could have a studly year. Let's look at tackle real quick. So Zune, there's literally no one behind Zune that was like a rotation guy because Fathery really didn't play this year. Fathery didn't really play. So I don't know who you do at left tackle. I would guess you throw Crown over at left tackle. He's the backup on both sides. Colton Thomason, who knows where he's at. Funk is locked in. He should make it through signing day. I don't know much about Ivy. You definitely need a tackle out of the portal or 2, and those are few and far between. There's a really good Clemson corner in the portal, yeah. Secondary needs work. Look, I'm really excited about the potential of Matthews, Kerr. I'm high on Kerr. That's just my personal thing. I'm going to keep saying it till it either happens or falls through. Matthews, Kerr, and Anderson. That's a good trio to me at safety and nickel. I like that 3. They all have plenty of experience. Next year they come in as very, very grizzled veterans. All 3 will be juniors. I really like that 3. And I don't know, that's probably an unpopular opinion or a hot take, but I really like it. More of the slower, more physical safety in Matthews, the quicker guy in Kerr. To me, I think he's a dart to the ball. And then Anderson's obviously a stud. You got to get a couple corners, and you probably got to get a safety at this point now that you're so thin out here. But obviously Brooks played safety. Brooks can play safety. Dalton Brooks played a lot this year. Maybe, I mean, not always, but played a lot. For a true freshman, he got time. He got spells. Okay, so if you didn't hear this today, Anderson got hacked on Twitter. Someone hacked his Twitter and said, "I'm entering the transfer portal." That was panic time for a minute, and then he announced he was hacked, and he's still in. So corners, and I think it's such a priority to get a tackle or two. They're hard to find. How are we feeling about tight end without Jake Johnson? I'm excited for Donovan Green, who's just continues to be the great Aggie. Just vocal in the forefront, leading this team, at least on social media, but just kind of a galvanizing force on the forward-facing side of the team, which is cool to see. Theo Orstrom's going to have his time now. It's Theo time. Platt scored this year. I mean, he looks big and studly out there. I'm excited to see more Platt. All right, guys, I guess I'll get out of here now. We'll see how this depth chart looks next time we have the show. I think I'm not going to have a show till Monday. Let some things play out. The full schedule until then anyway. I'll throw out a video if needed between now and then. Guys, I appreciate y'all being here. If you haven't liked and subscribed, if you could do that, that'd be very helpful. Let's say goodbye to the chat. Let's see what you are saying before I get out of here real quick, but I'll be getting out of here in about 5 minutes or so. Desperately need corners. Yep. Our DB room is falling apart. I don't see it falling apart just yet. Does somebody say that and you're just reacting to it? Is it falling apart? I think corner was always thin, and you had a big drop-off from Chappelle and Harmon this year whenever a backup had to go in. But those guys are going to get better. They're going to improve. You need to find an established corner out of the portal for sure. Platt looking good at tight end. Absolutely, Phillip. Lee from Kansas State. He is looking very promising, like he's very much an Aggie lean right now. We'll see. Stacked at receiver. If we can block, we'll be dangerous. Absolutely. I'm excited to see this new tandem at O-line coach in Colin Klein. Yes, there's a good Clemson's corner in the portal. Or DB. I don't know if he's a safety or a corner. Tackle from Notre Dame. Yes, we're keeping Anderson. I addressed that. There's not a single guy on the 2 deep at corner. Well, here's the thing about the 2 deep at corner. You just got to remember how young these guys were last year, and it's a big ask for a true freshman to cover SEC caliber players. That's tough. I think corner is one of those positions you don't want a young guy out there. McCall's a safety. Try to play him at deep cornerback, much like DeBerry. Bussy, yeah, I can see him being an impact starter at corner. He's the high profile 5-star blue chip absolute stud that you can see come in and start at corner, which is a very rare thing to see at corner, at least in my opinion and what I've seen. We worried about Edgerrin or York. I think Edgerrin goes pro, so I'm not worried. I'm just pretty sure he's gone. York, I'm not worried about. And if he's a name that we see in the portal, I'll be real sad. That'll be one that would suck. If Connor doesn't come back 100%, I think Reed can be the real deal. Apparently Reed has a hammer of an arm, and we saw him. He looks really athletic and strong-armed. Yeah, sure. But I think Connor's going to be back at 100%. Later, Atopsis. Later, J2. Look, Lash, we're losing a lot of players in the D-line room, but there are a lot of players there waiting. I think Hicks and GBD, they didn't play at all in the rotation this year. Gabriel Brown-Ladindi and Hicks. I think Scylla has a lot of potential. I think Ian White has a ton of potential. And then guys like Rylan Kennedy, Jaden Scarlett. Is that how you say it? Jalen or Jaden Scarlett? Scarlett, we haven't seen him yet. Tamu Pepe, we haven't really seen him yet. Rakes and Regis could be back. You just can't lose more, right? You just can't lose a ton of them. All right, guys. Manny Diaz is DC. That's not a name I would choose. And from what we're hearing, it's a younger guy. So I don't think it'd be Manny Diaz. I think Manny's in his late 40s now. Anywho. Guys, thanks for being here tonight. We're going to get out of here. I'll see you guys either whenever big news drops or on Monday. Thanks. Gig 'em, guys. Have a good night.